All right, we're back with another episode of the Sab Powers podcast. Today we have Melanie Dahling.
Yes, Melanie Dahling.
Sorry
Hello.
for that fuck up there.
Oh,
How's it
no
going?
worries. Pretty good. Yeah. I'm still working, so there's some sense of normalcy in my life. It's nice out. I went for a long walk today. I live by High Park. It's open again. It's a good day.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool stuff's opening again. Like you can go golfing now. I like that.
Yeah. Are you a golfer?
I only go like 4 times a year, and I'm really bad, but I still love it.
It's like a nice. Are you someone who, because for me, I love like a long, aimless walk, just meandering, but some people that drives them crazy and they need a reason to be doing the walk. So I think golf is good for that.
Yeah, unless you get a cart.
Oh, you're a cart person?
Yeah, for sure.
The carts are fun. I would
Yeah,
golf just as an excuse to ride around on the little cart.
yeah. It's even more fun than golfing, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to my sister's friends had a cabin and they had a golf cart that we would ride around in like in the like off road and and it was so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you miss doing comedy? You're a comedian, right?
I am a comedian, but I don't miss doing comedy. It's weird. I think I just like for a while now, like I know I love performing, I know I love writing, like I love so many of the ingredients that go into comedy, but I've been doing it so long, I started to be like, okay, I'm not advancing, the way that my peers are. So maybe I've been thinking for a while, like I should take a step back and figure out like, what do I want from this? What are some good next steps instead of just like doing the same thing over and over? And I really wanted some time to reflect, but I kept taking like a month off, and then people would ask me to do shows and I'd be like, "Oh, okay," because I just get tired of being like, I'm taking a break. Like it felt so. And this time has strangely been kind of exactly what I was wanting because there's no pressure to do shows and everybody has stopped. So I can't compare myself to anyone else. But I have been doing every other Saturday slumber parties on Instagram Live where I have people over. Well, like on Instagram Live, I have people over virtually, and we just like read old diary entries, make fun of like quizzes in Cosmopolitan, like just all silly kind of girly things. And I've really been enjoying that way to connect with my comedy friends, but not, yeah, not do stand. I don't really miss it yet. I will eventually, I'm sure.
Do you want to plug like all your shit, your Instagram, all that stuff? If you want.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's at sugar, like that you eat sugar, Dahling, Dahling, is my Instagram. And then I have Twitter and Facebook if you want to find me on there as well. But I think, yeah, I'm mostly on the Instagram if I had to pick one.
You don't have a YouTube channel though?
I have, if you look up Melanie Dahling on YouTube, like there's a few videos on there. I've been doing some funny videos, but I keep forgetting to put them on YouTube. So I'm always like a couple weeks behind. I forget YouTube is a thing. Like I don't know. I feel like I should have gotten on the ground floor of YouTube and I didn't. So I'm always like, I missed the boat on YouTube. I'll never be YouTube.
I feel like it's never too late to start. Like I just started. This is mainly going up on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's inspiring. I should, okay, I'll start a YouTube. Okay, I'll do it. I'll
Do
start a
it. Yeah, fuck yeah. I'll comment on all your videos. I'll like all your videos.
Oh,
I do
great.
that with tons of people. Yeah.
What should I do if you were going to design a YouTube channel for me, what should I like log in and talk about?
I don't know. Like you post videos on Facebook and stuff that are awesome. Just put those videos on YouTube, I think.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
do it.
Like if you still
I
have them saved, I don't know how it works or whatever.
I do. They're all on my
Yeah.
until they've been uploaded on everything. I do keep them on my desktop, so I know I'm supposed to be putting them on everything. And then like I am jealous of those people who like have a following just because they have a YouTube channel where they just literally talk at the camera about like I was watching a tattoo one today and I was like, yeah, this girl's interesting. I would hang out with her and I'm like I think that's just such a simple, lovely way to be like a public persona, is to just be like, here's something I know about, and people like it. I think that's great.
Yeah. It's crazy, and you get like paid for it. Well, some people,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's where I always feel like I missed the boat. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
if I wanted to be one of those guys, I would have had to do YouTube a long time ago. But, are you on TikTok? Are you doing TikTok?
I try, but it's not going well at all. YouTube is going much better than TikTok, I feel like.
Yeah, TikTok, I haven't figured it out yet. Like, people send me videos and I think they're funny, but then when I go into the app, I don't understand how I'm supposed to use it. Like, I'm in my 30s, so I guess I'm like slower to pick this stuff up, but I look and it's like videos just start playing the moment you open it. It's overwhelming. I want to like pick things.
Yeah. And it's like they play on repeat. So if it's like you put your phone down, it's like the same thing over and over again. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, that happened to me a couple times too. It's too much. Maybe I can do a YouTube series about trying to figure out how to do TikTok.
Yeah, for sure. And then you could do a TikTok series about trying to figure out YouTube.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to become YouTube famous in the year
Yeah,
2020.
exactly.
Hey, that could be something.
You remember like the last comedy show you did?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes. Okay, this is funny. So the last couple comedy shows I did, the first one, I went to Montreal for a weekend, and I'd been really wanting to do. Have you been to? There's a venue in Montreal called the Art Loft.
No, I've never been to
Oh, okay.
Montreal even, I don't think.
Oh, you should go. So the Art Loft is this really, it's like such a cool vibe. It's just these guys who own a loft, and they all live there, and they just put on different shows all week, and Friday is the comedy one. And it's always packed. It's like people are smoking weed, they're bringing their own drinks. It's just a very cool like atmosphere. And I'd done it a couple times as a featured guest, and then I really wanted to headline. So I planned this trip out to Montreal, and it was like March, like the first weekend in March before all of the lockdown hit, but people were nervous about COVID, but some people weren't and some people were. And I went and I headlined, and I was like, like the energy in this room, like it's nice, it's still fun, but it wasn't as explosive as I'm used to. And I was like, oh, weird. It's usually like such a warm room. And then when I got home, my friend was like, do you think it was because of Corona? And I was like, oh, are people like, it still hadn't clicked in that people were staying home because of that. And then the next show I did in Toronto, at Bad Dog Theater, was to promote a podcast episode that I was on. I did a stand up to like open the podcast, and there were 4 people in the crowd, and I could just tell they felt so self-conscious because they're like, we can't laugh hard enough to be like a real audience. And like that room is like, it's like a theater. So if there's only a few people, it makes a huge difference. And they all seemed super nervous. So then eventually I was like, I think what I would like to do right now is introduce myself to each of you individually. And I did. And I just like had a chat with everyone. And then I was like, okay, now I feel like we can like you know me a little bit, we can get along. And then I did my jokes, and then they went well. So there really was just this like tension in the rooms that I did just before all of this hit. And then yeah, after that show I had a bunch of stuff lined up, and it all just got canceled. It was wild.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy that like all this stuff is going on. Like I never thought something like this would happen, you know?
I keep remembering all the crazy things that have happened in my lifetime that I said that same thing about. And then there's yet another one. Like I was I think it's just been like I was in high school when Columbine happened, and then September 11th happened, and those really like changed, I feel like just changed the way we see the world. Like this
Mhm.
generation, it changed us. And then all this, it feels like every few years, like something bananas happens. And I'm like, is this every generation? Or is it special, or do we just feel special because we're living in it? Like, I don't know.
Right, that's a good point. But it is fucking crazy. Like, what's next? What's the next crazy thing that's gonna happen, right?
I don't know. Like, Trump is president. We're not allowed to leave the house. He's telling people to put bleach in their veins. Like, it's I couldn't have written this. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's next. I don't know. Yeah. But I do feel something I was chatting with about today with a comedian friend of mine just called me out of the blue just to say hey, which was super nice. Um and we were saying what we're excited about in like I guess a couple years from now when comedy comes all the way back and we're allowed to like be packed in those theaters. We were saying I think people will be hungry for it, so the shows will be good, and also maybe we'll stop wasting our time on like I don't know, I just find that like everybody when you first get into comedy you're like okay, I'm going to run a show, but then we have a bunch of these little shows all over Toronto that are like dimly attended and maybe not the best, you know, and and I'm like what if we combined forces and had like one show in each neighborhood per night or whatever, and like I think maybe we'll start prioritizing the quality because it used to be like just get on stage no matter what, and now I'm realizing like I really like having some space in my schedule, and maybe doing a few really good shows would be better than just doing every single show someone asks me to do. Yeah, just I think our priorities will shift in terms of that.
Right, I totally get that because like I've driven 2 hours to do like a room for 4 people or whatever
Yes.
for free, and it's like, why am I just agreeing to every show that's offered to me, right?
Yeah, and it's like if you're truly working on like sometimes those little shows are great if you're like, you know what? I just wrote a new 15 and I really just need to do it and just run it. And then it's like, okay, but even then it's like how do you know if it went well in those circumstances where you're like, well, just went to a restaurant where there were not many people and none of them knew comedy was happening, so they were not happy about it.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
like I don't know that yeah, maybe it would be better to just stay home and really like work on that 15 with a trusted friend. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk is talking about this thing where putting like a chip in your brain that could
Oh.
like would you get one of those, you think, if it came to the point where like everyone's getting one and they like it's like a phone almost?
Whoa, I haven't heard about this. Okay, so a chip in your brain and it's
Hmm.
a phone, like you can answer it, but just like with your mind, or like how
Okay, well, like basically, like the first steps is what he's gonna do. Apparently, is that it'll like fix like paraplegic people, blind
oh.
people, like all types of shit like that. And then like the next step is like just making us like interface with technology completely, like everybody, because it would just be better, I guess, is what
Whoa.
he's saying. Yeah.
So it's gonna make us all like superhumans basically.
Yeah.
Um
Would you hop on that train if it was like they're like, hey, everybody's getting chips in their brain?
that feels so like do you remember that movie Gattaca?
No, I haven't seen that one.
I'm
Do they do that?
no, but in Gattaca there's it's basically about the idea that you can engineer your child and make your child exactly what you want it to be and like engineer out like disabilities and differences and things like that. And then there's the people who are like I can't remember, there's some derogatory term for children that were like lovingly conceived and everyone's like ugh, like because you're supposed to have the like engineered baby. And it's hard to say because like there's the whole like what makes us different is what makes us beautiful and all that, but if all of a
Right.
sudden every single one of my friends was a superhuman, um I might do it just to keep up. Like, you
Mhm.
know, I originally when I used to listen to CDs on my Discman and I liked the simplicity of that. And then they were like, get this MP3 player, you can have like millions of songs on it. And I didn't like it at first because I was like, what happens when you only have one CD is you end up like, oh, I never used to like this song and now I do. Like you have a real journey with that one CD. And
Yeah.
I kind of I resisted, but then I was like, oh, this is a new technology. And like, I think that's what any of us do. We just are like, well, I got to keep up.
Hmm. Can't we just say like enough's enough? Let's just stop here before it gets
Yeah.
too crazy. Like,
Ideally, yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Like I even think of like it's getting more and more common for people to get these like tiny cosmetic procedures that you would
mhm,
never notice, but make them look just a little bit better than everyone else, you know, like just
mhm,
teeny little tweaks. And I think about how like we're all going to end up doing that just to keep up, like I said, because like you see someone with like eyelash extensions and you can't tell that that's what it is, but you're like, oh, there's her lashes are thicker and fuller than mine, and then you find out this secret that they're these eyelash extensions, so you're like, maybe I'll get it, because that's what normal ends up looking like, is this enhanced
mhm.
version, and you end up looking weird because you aren't doing the enhancements. So it's like, I don't know, maybe I I do wish there was a point where we could just like stop and be like, maybe being bad at some stuff makes us better people. Maybe the struggle is like part of life, but I think we all just want to be perfect and beautiful and live forever. That's what everyone wants. Like, I'm
Yeah.
the smartest, most beautiful, most immortal person. And I don't know that we'll be happy when we get that, but that's the goal. Like, where
Mhm.
if either the world's going to end or we'll achieve that, we'll basically be like robots, like meat puppet robots. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see, hopefully. Um, would you go to Mars if they're like, we got a ticket?
Oh, no, I wouldn't go to Mars. Would you go to Mars?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. If they're like, they're sending 1 million people to Mars and they're like, we picked you, I'd be like, all right.
Oh, it's hard because you can never come back is the
Mhm.
scary thing for me. So I'm like, what if I don't like Mars?
Yeah, what if Mars really sucks? That's a good point, actually.
Because it's just like, it's not like you're just jaunting over. It's like the
Mhm.
people who go to Mars, they're like, the people who aren't going just have to accept that they're never going to see that person again. And they're
Mhm.
not dead, they're just on Mars.
But we
Which
could still Zoom call like this, maybe. Like technology will be
maybe,
better, right?
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I mean, like, I can't say I wouldn't consider it. No one's ever invited me to Mars.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, but I mean, anything's never say never.
True.
Yeah, I would like to I would love to just go in a spaceship and just see space and then come back. Like I would love that if that became like a little vacation you could do, is just like pay to go up in a rocket ship and then like
Yeah.
look around and then come back.
That might be a thing at some point. I hope it is. That'd be sick, actually.
Yeah, I think it would cost so much money,
Hmm.
but I bet they would run all kinds of fun contests. Like Coca-Cola is gonna
Not a
send you to
sponsor.
the moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there would be all these like, look under the cap. You won.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. You watch anything good on Netflix?
Um, this week I actually took a break from watching television at all because have you ever read that book, The Artist's Way?
No.
It's a really cool book. It's like this, it's very hippy dippy. So you kind of just have to like release your inner critic because you're going to want to roll your eyes a lot, but it's like a really cool if you're any kind of artist or creative person, it's just about like reclaiming that side of yourself that you maybe had when you were younger, where you're like, I could do anything, and then like just like it tries to like reprogram you and help you be expressive and believe in yourself again after having years of like self-doubt and all that stuff
Hmm.
that adults end up having. And there's little homework assignments, and last week I was reading my book and it was like, next week, give up reading books. And I was like, well, that would be way too easy for me because I don't read books
Yeah, same.
other than this one. I'll do an audio book, but I'm not really like a sit, open a book kind of person anymore. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to give up TV. So I gave it up right when I'd just gotten into this really good show. on Crave with the RuPaul's Drag Race, some of the RuPaul's Drag Race queens called We're Here. And they basically go to small towns. It's like Queer Eye. Like they go to small
Hmm.
towns and they put people in drag and they put on a show and they show that like there really is a community for this everywhere. It's just like people are scared to literally to come out. So they I don't know, they kind of like it's like a hopeful show, but it's also it doesn't blow smoke up your ass the way that Queer Eye does sometimes. We're on Queer Eye, it's like, and then all the problems are solved and we left. Like it's more like, oh, that person's still in a fight with their sister, but they had a good night. And like it's a little more like real. And I love it. I've watched 2 episodes. I would recommend it to anyone. Um, and now I can't watch it till the end of the week, but it's coming up. We're coming up on the end of the week, so.
I've never seen it, but I have watched RuPaul's Drag Race. I actually love that show. Not
Oh,
gonna
you
lie.
like? Are you
Yeah.
watching this season?
I know I haven't watched it in like a year, but I watched like fucking 8 seasons or whatever like a year ago,
Oh,
right?
nice.
I binged them all. Yeah.
Do you remember when you binge them? It's hard to remember like individual details, but do you remember any queens that stood out for you?
Yeah, I remember like some of like the winners. Like I remember like Bob the drag queen, just because he was a comedian. He
Yeah.
was awesome. Yeah,
Bob
he
the
was
drag
good.
queen, that was such an unfair season because Bob comes in and it's like, oh, I already know who the winner is. It's Bob, clearly. And then
Yeah.
and the other contestants can see it too, and they're all just like, oh, like
Yeah, yeah.
so it was weird because I love that season because I love Bob, but I also is an unfair season because
Hmm.
she's just like such a standout. But Bob is one of the queens on We're Here. So
Oh,
it's
that's
so good.
awesome.
Yeah, watch it. It's like it's great. And I think it's good for like, not like drag culture is a specific thing. There's an aesthetic to it, there's a language to it. Not that not that I know much about it beyond the show. I try and go see local shows, but anyway, this is more like it's a human story. So anyone, even if you aren't like steeped in all the like slang and all the expression and all the history, you'll get it because it's humans connecting with humans. And I think it's such a nice little addition to the RuPaul's Drag Race franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's another one that I remember. Like I don't remember their name, but it was like they did this thing where they had like rose petals come out and they took off the gloves and then the wig at the end. Do you remember that?
Yes, Sasha Velour. Of course I
Yeah, I
remember.
thought it was that, but I didn't want to pronounce it wrong. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a huge moment because everyone wanted Shea Coulee to win, but then how can you deny like those rose petals? You
that
can't.
was crazy. That was so creative, and I was like, oh my god! Like at that moment, I was like, that was so cool.
I heard because they don't know what song they're gonna end up getting. And I read an interview with her where she was like, yeah, the rose petals was for that song. And then she had a totally other thing planned for the other song where you wouldn't have even seen the rose petals, but there was a whole other thing she was gonna do.
Mm.
So she's just so smart. Yeah, yeah, she came here and I couldn't afford tickets, but I'm sure it was incredible. I have no doubt. It's like Vegas level showmanship.
Mm-hmm. If
Yes.
you had your own podcast, what would it be about? You think?
Oh, I have a podcast.
Oh, awesome! What?
Yeah,
Where can we listen to it? Stuff? Did you plug that at the beginning?
I didn't. I forgot it.
Uh,
um, I just do too many things.
yeah.
I do a podcast with the Sonar Network, so you can find us on there, or you can find us on like Spotify or whatever. It's called Tarts and Craft, and it's my friend Rachel and I, and we talk about witchcraft. So we started hanging out a couple years ago, and we were like, oh, we get along well. We have nice banter. We should find something we both like that we could talk about, and we're both like I would say witchcraft adjacent, where we've always been interested in the occult, but we're like, oh, what does it mean? Like, do I call myself a witch or what is this? And yeah, over the past couple years, no, 1 year, we've been doing this podcast, and it's fun. We interview experts sometimes, or sometimes we just look up like one of my favorite episodes from very early on, when I think we like found our groove, was called like "Why Are Goats the Devil?" And we just researched like, why are goats the devil? Like, why is this? And it was interesting and funny. And we, yeah, it's started to change over time because I've started to lean more into my witchy side, and we've started to try and do like rituals together and stuff. So we'll like talk about that on the show. And yeah, where it's a good time. It's
That's
arts and
awesome.
craft. Look it up.
Yeah, for sure, I will. And everyone else should. I hope you at least get some people supporting you because of this.
Yeah, I hope so. It's definitely for occult dabblers. Like I always worry that some like witchcraft expert is going to listen to this and be like and listen to it and be like, "Well, this is all wrong." And it's like we always try and be like, "We're learning, we're figuring it
Mhm.
out." Like it's really for the type of people who are like interested but don't really get it, and we're trying to like learn with you. So we don't claim to be experts or anything, but it's a yeah, so if you've always been curious about the occult, just that's who our audience is.
No, my fans will love that because like I usually ask people, do you believe in ghosts? And then like 90% of my guests have said yes, pretty much.
You
So
gotta
I'll ask
believe.
you, do you believe in ghosts? Yeah, I know you do.
I believe in ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts?
Not. I believe like anything is possible, but I lean on the side of no, to be honest.
Okay, I do believe in ghosts very strongly, but I think 90% of what we think is a ghost is probably like a rusty old pipe or, you know, something.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
but I do think that there's like unexplained, and maybe we've simplified it with our human minds by being like, it's a ghost, it's like a human, but see through. Like, I don't know
yeah.
that it's as simple as all that, but I totally believe in ghosts. I actually, um, when I was in high school, I was very interested in this boy who I didn't end up dating, but he worked for the Winnipeg Paranormal Society as an investigator. And what they do is someone will call them and be like, "My house is haunted," and then they go and they do all their science. And he said the first thing they try and do is disprove it. So they rule everything out. And he's like, "Yeah, most of the time it ends up being something like very explainable, but he said there are things that go bump in the night." I remember him saying that, and I
Oh
was like,
wow.
"Oh."
That even gave me chills.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's from real life Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think it's or it could be just like an energetic imprint or I don't know, but I believe in ghosts. Yes. Short answer, yes.
What,
They're
what,
out there.
yeah. What about aliens? Let's hear your thoughts on aliens.
Well, you got to believe in aliens. I think it's so um arrogant to think we're the only like life that exists the way that we do, you know. I think there's got to be aliens. I I never used to believe that they really like cared that much about us here on Earth. Like all those stories about them really like wanting to come and study us. I was like, why do they care so much? And I just was like, I don't think that's true. But now, I don't know. The government has basically come out and been like, yeah, there's aliens. So, so I don't know. I always am willing to believe that either way, like even with like all my spiritual stuff, I'm willing to believe maybe it's all stupid and
Mhm,
maybe like, you know, maybe my little like candles and crystals and statues are just inanimate objects, maybe. But um, yeah, so I could really go either way. I'm not married to aliens being a thing, but I think they've got to be.
mhm.
Yeah, that's my stance on it. What do you think about aliens?
I don't know. Like I'm kind of just like pretty like it could be anything, right? Like what the government released was just like lights in the sky or whatever, right? So that could
Yeah,
be some sort of technology, I think.
but
But I definitely go ahead.
there's been a history of world leaders though being like oh there's this Bananas documentary I watched with this guy. Oh, he had such a cool name. I can't remember, but he had a name that sounded like a real character in a movie, but he was real. And he worked in this like facility that was all about like studying aliens. And then he released all this information and the government was after him. But in that documentary, they showed all of this footage of like them asking like Kennedy, like, are there aliens? And he's always like, well, I can't say. And they're always very like flirty about it. And I'm like, so you're kind of hinting that there's aliens. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
there's just this history of all these like world leaders being like, I don't know. So either they're trying to convince us there are aliens for
Yeah.
their own nefarious purposes, or there are aliens. Those are the only two options.
Well, like, there's gotta be life somewhere out there, right? The universe is so big.
That's the thing. Like the universe, um, I as a kid used to think about how the universe just like goes on and on and on and on, and I would get truly overwhelmed thinking about it. And like,
Mm.
did you ever do that thing as a kid or sometimes as an adult where you just like try to freak yourself out a little bit just to feel it?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, I think, yeah.
So I would always do that when I felt like freaking myself out a bit. I'd be like, universe just goes on, and then I would like, ah!
Yeah, that is fuck. I'm tripping out thinking about it right now. It's like, oh my god, that's so crazy. It's
Because
like,
everything has an edge. Everything we interact with has an
yeah,
edge.
it just doesn't make sense. It's like my silly little brain can't comprehend it, you know?
No, and I think that's the thing with like aliens and ghosts and all that. Like, there are so many things that are happening right now around us that we can't pick up on with our senses. We have very limited senses. And we know that because there's animals that can. So it's like,
Hmm.
if there is something, there's no way I could ever comprehend it, is kind of what I've landed on either
Hmm.
way.
For sure. So, how many episodes of your podcast have you done so far?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me check.
Pull that up.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Do you do it like
Um,
once a week kind of thing, or?
so we were doing once a week, and then it started to get overwhelming for me because I edit it. So I was like, can we do like a bunch of episodes and then I'll release them once a week. But
Hmm.
we used to like get together once a week. I'd edit, I'd release, and now we released one during quarantine, but we haven't released another one. And we're actually going to chat game plan on Monday. So that's coming up. We're just figuring out like, because listenership for podcasts in the beginning of all this kind of dropped off
Oh, really?
because yeah, because people weren't like, they don't have a commute anymore. Like, they're usually are listening to it when you're like on the subway or something. And now I find they're back up. So yeah, we got to figure it out. I'm not sure. Short answer, I'm not sure how many episodes we've done, but we did like 2 seasons. There was one where it was like, we're just figuring this out. And then we did a second season that was like, at that point we'd started to get known in the Toronto witchcraft community a little more, so we were able to get some guests. Because in the beginning, if you're like, we're two comedians and it's a witchcraft podcast, people think you're going to make fun of them. So I feel like now it's easy for us to start getting more people involved. And
Hmm.
yeah, we'll see what we want to do for a season 3, see what's realistic, what works for both of us. And yeah, it's fun though.
Hmm. As someone that's into like witchcraft and stuff, what do you think of Harry Potter? I want to hear. Do you like Harry Potter?
I do. So when Harry Potter first came out, I was in high school. Yeah. And my friend's little brother was reading it. So we started reading it too. And I really liked it. But then the fandom, like, has this ever happened to you where like you feel like you can't be as into something as everyone else is? Like, it's like everyone
Right.
else becomes such a nerd for it. And I was like, oh, I was just kind of like casually reading these for fun. So I kind of like dropped out of the Harry Potter world, and like there's a few books I haven't read, a couple movies I haven't seen. And then recently I had been working as a nanny, and those kids were all about Harry Potter. So I started reading the audiobooks through, and It's great. Yeah. I think I think it really helped a lot of like young people who were dealing with like the idea of otherness and gave them like this magical world. And yeah, there's a lot that's really beautiful about it. You know who I don't like though in retrospect is I think Professor Snape is like needlessly cruel all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's like I get that it's a kid's book and like the bad guys have to be so bad and the good guys have to
Hmm.
be so good, but I'm like he's he's like quite cruel. And like as a teacher, as an authority figure, I'm just like how's he keeping his job? Like it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. He's very mean. And I get that there's like a reason at the end. I understand. I know the twist. But I still don't think it's warranted.
Yeah. I feel like their magic is too powerful. They'd just be fucking shit up all the time, those kids. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. It's funny because they're always like, the professors are always like, don't do this, you might die. And then they're like, we will though. And like, if that, they would like, yeah, they're too good at what they do too fast.
Yeah.
It's scary a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, they take on a gnome, like that huge gnome in the, or yeah, I think it's a gnome. I don't know.
What about Lord of the Rings? Do you like Lord of the Rings?
I read the first one. It's quite long. Didn't read the others, but there were moments in the book that I found really like, wow, like, I liked it. And then the movies I enjoyed, but again, I didn't become fanatic for it. Like I watched it, I was like, that was very good. Thank you. Yeah, what a fine film. Thank you so much. And then I just like moved on. But I didn't like, there's things that I definitely become like, ooh, I got to know everything about it. And that wasn't one of those for me.
Hmm. For me, it
Yeah.
was. It was crazy. I was like super into that shit.
Oh yeah. Did you
Yeah.
have like collectible items?
Not really, but I was just like, it was super like maybe a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. But it was like he invented his own language and stuff just for the book and stuff like that.
Oh, it's wild. Like
Hmm.
I acknowledge it's genius for sure. Like I feel like there was nothing else like it when he wrote it.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I don't know enough about the fantasy genre, but I feel like he kind of launched a whole movement with these books.
Yeah, and he invented orcs. Like before him, orcs wasn't a thing, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm actually playing D&D for the first time in quarantine because a bunch of my friends decided, why not? And we have a friend who's a DM, and we just fought a great big orc, and I'll let you know that I saved the whole team. I,
That's awesome. I play
yeah,
D&D too. Do you play like over the Zoom thing?
yeah, we play over Zoom, and then when
Awesome.
there's like a battle, our DM has two devices. So he has one where we can see him and talk to him, and one that's just like overhead on the like the little thing that he's drawn.
Hmm.
And he has little figures for all of us, and he gives us homework assignments. And in our, which I love homework, and in our last game, it was so cool because he did this like immersive thing where he was like, oh, you see this like shape and there's all these faces and they're all whispering strange things and you hear an individual message that no one else can hear. And then he sent us each our individual messages like on Facebook separately, and we all just like took them in and then had to decide like, do we talk to each other about it, do we play our cards close to our chest? Like I love it. There's so many layers. It's very fun. How long have you been playing for?
Just like a couple months, and it's like it all got put on hold because of the whole quarantine stuff. But it was like we were playing for like 2 months or something, and that was the first time I really got into it. But it was awesome. Like I just love
Yeah.
like what you were saying. I love like the freedom of like you can like it's almost it's hard to explain. It's like a board game where it's like you can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, I like that there's a structure that you have to play within, and
Hmm.
something and like you can do whatever you want but within this, and like I just think it's the perfect balance of like the freedom that we all want versus like the structure that we all need. And there's stuff like a character can be like doing like in the last game we played, like one of the characters was like had a really good plan and we had to go negotiate with someone. So I was like, okay, you go negotiate with him because you're really you got all the good ideas right now. And then he rolled a 2 and like you just have to justify that this like super slick character is suddenly like fumbling over his words, and like that's how real life is. And I feel like
Mhm.
in a movie you have like the brave one and the this one and the that one, and in D&D like it's all in a roll of the dice, and it just feels more natural that way.
Yeah, it's hilarious because like my character like got drunk at a bar, and then I forgot that I had no money, so I tried to convince the bartender to like let me work it off or something. Rolled a 1, and then I tried to run away, so I rolled another 1, and then I
Oh
like fell
no.
over a table or something. I forget what exactly happened, but yeah, ended up in jail.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Do you why don't you play over Zoom with your folks, with your D&D folks?
I think we're trying to set it up right now. It's like everyone's not very good with technology, including me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I live
Yeah.
like in the middle of nowhere, so like my internet kind of sucks during certain times. And
Yeah.
today it's just completely out, which sucks, which is why I'm not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
I live like by Welland and like Niagara Falls, kind of in between
Oh,
in the
shoot.
country. Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
I always say every summer I'm like, this summer we're gonna go out to the falls, and we never do, but one day.
Yeah. There's comedy shows down here. Showtime's a great place. Uh,
Oh yeah.
mhm.
Is there Showtime in St. Catharines as well?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. There's
Oh,
no
okay.
Showtime in the Falls. It's just St. Catharines. Yeah,
I have
but we're
done
close.
I have done Showtime at St. Catharines, and I loved it. It was great. Like the
Mhm.
setup, the room is just like it's set up perfectly for comedy to go well. And it's like it's that feeling of like, oh, I've been thinking that I'm a bad comic, but I just frequently do shows that aren't set up right for anyone to do well. And doing a show somewhere like that just so good. Everyone was great. Loved it.
Yeah, it was amazing. Or it is amazing of a club. It's so weird that like everywhere's closed down. When
Yeah.
comedy starts back up again, are you gonna jump back in? You think?
I'm gonna figure it out. Like I'm actually seeing a life coach right now. I'm seeing her tomorrow, and she's like a career strategist life coach. So I decided to invest in that because I've been going it alone for a while and just waiting for someone to discover me, and that's not happening. So I'm like, what do I do like with these skills that I've acquired, and I think I definitely want to keep performing. And I don't think I'd ever stop doing stand up because it's the only way to just be like, I feel like performing tonight. Okay, I'll go do it. Like, it's the only way you can do that. So I do love that about it. But I don't know. When it comes back, I don't want it to come back too soon because I feel like part of the mechanics of comedy is like people being bunched together,
Mhm.
and when you're really far away from the person beside you and you hear your own laugh out loud, you're like, oh, and you get self conscious. And then, like, you don't get that rolling laughter that you want. So I don't know. I think I'm willing to wait for it to be, for us to be ready to do some really good shows. But that said, if it came back tomorrow and someone was like, want to do my show, I'd be like, oh my gosh, thanks. And I'd do it. Like, because
Yeah,
that's
I'm the
my,
same way. Like, I would have stopped comedy a long time ago if it wasn't for people asking me to do their shows.
it feels so nice when
Mhm.
people do like when people you admire, especially when they're like they've chosen you. It just, yeah, it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
What did you what were some of your favorite shows that you did before all this happened? What shows are you missing?
Well, Showtime for sure. That was always the best. And there
Yeah.
was a competition I was in at Showtime which got canceled or
Aw,
postponed. Niagara's Top Comic. Um, there was like there was this brewery. What's it called? In Niagara on the Lake that was really good. It was like a small room, and it was
cool.
like in the second floor of a brewery. It was good. Um,
Oh, no. I thought I'd been to that, but I'm just like, I've been to a building set up that same way before. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
stop trying to insert yourself into someone else's narrative.
Yeah. Maybe you never know. You never know. But
Yeah, sometimes you get driven out to a place and you're like, I don't know where I am right now.
yeah, yeah. And places look similar and shit. But Taps was good too. Run by Levi Mann. You
Oh,
probably.
yeah, I know Levi. We did a show together in, I don't remember, but he's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Levi's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, he was fun. And that was good because the show that we did, um, there was this staircase leading down to the stage. And whenever I see a staircase leading down to the stage, I have to go down it. Like I have to be like, hello, it's me, and like do like a glamorous entrance because it's just, how could you not? And I
hmm
was doing that, and the entire crowd was like, what? Like they were all so just confused as to what was happening. And Levi was like in the corner table laughing super hard. And like I ended up just being like, this one's for Levi. Because he was the only one that really understood what was happening. And he really liked my jokes, but I will say that the audience did not. But that's fine. It was a fun show.
Yeah, word, word. Um, I think this has been pretty good. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, I think we had a nice chat. We
For
covered
sure.
a lot of topics.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, all over the place.
And if people want
Um,
to send me their own theories about aliens, either I'm willing to believe either way.
cool. Is there any like shout outs or like plugs or anything around here?
Well, if you want to keep an eye on my Instagram, I'm not sure when I'm going to do the next slumber party. I did one last Saturday and I've been toying with like, should I do them every Saturday or every other? But there'll be one coming up. And the next one I'm going to do is going to have a Canadian Idol theme. So anyone who's ever auditioned for Canadian Idol can call in and chat with me about their experience. And I think it'll be a fun, nostalgic time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again.
Yeah.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me. This was fun.
Yeah.
Bye
Okay, I have to figure out how to end this. First time using this computer. Um,
bye.
okay, sorry.
How does it end?
Okay. Ah. Yeah, so I'm just trying to get the mouse to move. Sorry about this.
Oh, no worries.
Alright, I got it, I think.
Okay.
Alright.
Bye. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.